It's time for the maiden voyage of the DuhCast, presented by the Wrestling Perspective. I'm Dennis Farrell, and this is the man of the hour, the VIP. He gets the first slice of the PIE. It's James Ellsworth. What's up, buddy?
It's your boy, James Ellsworth. Duh. And that's the first ever Duh on the Duh podcast.
I love it.
On the DuhCast.
So, here we are. It's the first one. I'm excited. P.D. Williams and myself are really excited to welcome you to the family. This is the first podcast. It's going to be a lot different from anything you hear. There's going to be a lot of all-around wrestling, not just WWE. We'll also talk, indies, answering fan questions, a lot of really cool stuff, and some personal stories, both yours and mine.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited. I've done numerous podcasts, whether it's been Jericho's or Eric Bischoff's or Stone Cold Steve Austin's, and I've had a lot of fun doing them and a lot of good feedback from the fans, and I'm excited to try my own here, the DuhCast. So we'll see how it goes.
Picking your favorite podcast that you were on is probably like picking your favorite child, but what was the one podcast you were probably the most excited to be on?
Oh, man, it had to be Jericho's. The first time I was on top is Jericho, because that's right around the time the Strowman thing happened, like a couple of weeks after, and Jericho asked me to be on, and you have to imagine, for me, that was like, wow, oh my God, Chris Jericho is asking me to be on his podcast. This is awesome. So that was my all-time favorite. I'll never forget that.
When the Monday Night Wars were going on, and this is kind of technically our first date too, so it's the get to know each other process. But when the Monday Night Wars went on, what side of the fence were you on?
Oh, man, I watched them both. Not to be cliche, but I'm just a big wrestling fan, man. Like, I've been watching wrestling since I can remember, and I watched both WWE and WCW back in the day, and I think I enjoyed Raw is War, if you will. A little more back in the day. I caught myself watching that a little more than Nitro, but I did enjoy both shows because I am a huge wrestling fan.
At that time in my life, I grew up in the South, so I was more of a WCW guy, and it still pains me today to know that we lost that war.
Well, it's just I think WWE ran by Vince McMahon. They made better business decisions, and that's ultimately what won the war, in my humble opinion. And that was a fun time in wrestling history. And if you lived in that era, like if you were a teenager like I was in that era, there wasn't a better era to enjoy professional wrestling than that era. It was great.
You're 100% right. We have a lot to talk about this week on the DuhCast. We have the fans' emails. We want to talk a little bit about AllIn. That's something that popped up on my notes. I haven't even talked to you about that, but I want to just kind of get your thoughts about it. Just now that you kind of grew up on the indie scene, you're back on the indie scene. The Miz and Bryant, that's going to happen. We'll talk a little bit about the SuperStar Shakeup and some of the notes we have there, but let's start with AllIn. If you're strictly a WWE person, a lot's been interesting happening on the independent scene, which I feel like has revived a lot of life into it. And I'm not too familiar with it, so you can correct me if I'm wrong there. But basically, Cody Rhodes, or Cody, in the Bullet Club, which you should know about that, decided that, I think it started with like Meltzer challenging them, or I don't have 100% of that story right, but they couldn't draw a 10,000 seat show. So they went out, Cody did, and created AllIn with the Bullet Club to try to reach the 10,000 seat, mark. And it sounds like it's going pretty good. What are your thoughts, and what are you hearing on the independent scene about AllIn?
Well, man, first and foremost, like this Bullet Club stuff, even when I was in WWE, I would pull up to the arena, and you see more Bullet Club T-shirts, especially the Young Bucks, than any other wrestling shirt in the business. Like, you see them everywhere. So, obviously, a lot of people are paying attention to them, and it's great to see, man, because, the Young Bucks have never been on WWE. Like, they've never been signed to a contract, and for them to accomplish as much as they have without ever being on WWE television it's almost unheard of. And like I said, man, just seeing all those shirts everywhere. Now I'm back on the independent scene, and again, at these independent wrestling shows I go to all over the country and the world, I see more Bullet Club and Young Buck shirts than any other shirt in wrestling. So they're very popular. They're entertaining. They know what they're doing. And I think if any independent wrestlers can draw a 10,000 seat arena and are smart enough to put together a wrestling show that could draw 10,000 people, I think it's them. I really think they have the intelligence to do it.
What was the talk in the locker room? I don't know if there was any scuttlebutt or, any of the wrestlers gossiping about the Bullet Club shirts in the stands.
Oh, absolutely, man. Social media is everywhere. Everyone's on their phone these days. If you walk into a locker room, if any of you professional wrestlers out there, whether you're in the WWE or Ring of Honor or New Japan or on an independent show, if you walk in the locker room, everybody's on their cell phones these days, and everyone's paying attention to what's going on in the wrestling world. And obviously, the Bullet Club's it's a big thing, and of course, people are talking about it, going, "Wow, man, these Bullet Club guys, their merchandise is everywhere, and they're popping up everywhere." And it's more love than hate, especially from guys like that Owen, Zayn, AJ Styles that have been on the independents and scratch and claw to get to WWE. Seeing something like this, where these guys are making a significant amount of money off of merchandise and getting booked all over the world, it's cool to see for people that have been on the independents and have scratch and crawled, such as myself. I was on the independents 14 years before I got my break and got signed to WWE, and it's really cool to see, man. Nothing but love from me about it, and people in the locker room do talk about it.
It's been interesting because never really has the WWE ever acknowledged any competition. And over the last few months, you've seen them, make mention, whether it's in jest, the TNA. You've seen Dixie Carter show up on a couple documentaries. Even in some of the retrospective pictures, you've seen, early years of AJ Styles in TNA. Do you think WWE could be warming to the idea of, maybe it's okay if we have competition, or is it just, they needed that material, we're going to get it, we're going to use it, and we came up with some sort of agreement?
Well, it's just so much content they need for that network. The network's 24/7, streaming network, WWE network, and they need to put stuff on there that people want to see for people to spend that $9.99 a month to subscribe to the WWE network. And if that means they have to put this Dixie Carter on there talking about something, then and they think that'll help, that'll do it. And why not? It's not really going to hurt them. Obviously, Dixie Carter's not running Impact Wrestling anymore, and so it doesn't really hurt them to put her on the network, and they know it'll get people talking. So I just think it's one of those things, to help the network out, maybe get a couple of subscribers off of it because they know people will talk about it. But like right now, they're putting Bruce Pritchard on the network, like a spinoff of Something to Wrestle With, the #1 wrestling podcast in the country or in the world. And I guess they're doing a spin-off of that to put on the network with Bruce Pritchard. They're doing anything, and rightfully so, to get subscribers to the network.
It was the #1, the DuhCast now, baby.
Episode 1 right now here on the DuhCast. But hopefully people listen in and they're interested in it every week. I'm I'm excited to do this, and I'm going to voice my opinion a lot. I think I was telling you earlier when we talked on the phone, no one's opinion is wrong. Everyone has an opinion, and it's their opinion. There might be things I say on here that someone might not necessarily agree with, but that's okay. We're going to have fun here on the DuhCast. I am going to, voice my opinion, and that's the way it's going to be. Duh.
By the way, can we give a shout out to probably our first #1 fan, Adam Jones?
Oh man, yeah, he I put up the graphic you sent me about the DuhCast, and Adam Jones, friend of mine from the Baltimore Orioles, the center fielder, been an all-star a couple of times, Golden Glove center fielder. He's excited about it, and I'm gonna try to get him on one week. It'll be cool. I'd talk to Adam.
We're going to have guests. We have the capability of having guests. So, listen, this is awesome for me because Little do people know, when you first came up and started doing the James Ellsworth stuff, PD and I were probably your biggest fans. We talked about you every week about how you have seized the moment, took an opportunity, and ran with it. And it's something you don't see too much anymore in wrestling.
Yeah, man. Like I was right place, right time, right opponent, right promo. It was lightning in a bottle, man. That night, July 25th, 2016, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, against Braun Strowman. Man, it was the perfect storm. Like I think if it would have been any other opponent other than Braun Strowman, it wouldn't have happened. Like, or if I would have said any other thing than any man with two hands has a fighting chance, it just wouldn't have happened, man. Like, everything came into place that one night. It was all a perfect storm, and man, I did run with it after that. The fans took to me, and it's just a time in my life I'll never forget. And I, like, to this day, man, I don't want it to end. I'm not with WWE at the moment, obviously. It got released back in November. But that doesn't mean I'm going to give up on this. Like, the fans gave me a blessing, man. They helped me, like, achieve my dream, and I'm going to keep fighting for the fans. And I'm not trying to be cliche or kiss the fans' ass. I really mean this. And I'm going to do everything I can to continue to entertain them and be James Ellsworth and be unique to any wrestling show and be different on any wrestling show and just add something to every wrestling show I'm on.
How do you evolve it? Obviously, the intergender stuff is amazing. You basically take the dust off an Andy Kaufman thing that hasn't been done, shockingly enough. How did that even come to mind?
Well, the last thing I did on TV was wreak havoc on the women's division on SmackDown Live. You know, I took the Money in the Bank briefcase and handed it to Carmella, ruining the first ever Money in the Bank match for the women. And then my last...
And you took hell on Twitter for that, by the way.
Oh, it was great, man. That was real heat, and I knew I had that, and I don't know if that was a problem for me because, like, I knew I had the heat after that real good heat, man, and like I was hoping it was leading to me wrestling all the girls on SmackDown. Like, it would have been fun, but I did get to wrestle Becky there in my last match in WWE, and I was like, man, if okay, they released me, so what do? I create this intergender world title, and I talk about how the women's revolution ruined my career, and now I'm going to ruin the women's revolution, and I'm going to challenge all these girls on the independent scene and defend the intergender title. And I've had fun with it so far, man. Like, I just wrestled Emma to Neil Dashwood a couple of weeks ago. She's a big name on the indies right now, who also got released by WWE back in November, and we had a fun matchup. And I'm wrestling Tessa Blanchard coming up. Victoria, I'm wrestling. I'm having a blast with it, and it's different on any wrestling show. Me wrestling a woman on any wrestling show, I think, adds a different kind of entertainment.
Let's move over. We're going to hit a lot of things. It's our first one. We want to talk about a lot of things, but for a second, when you talking about what you've been doing on the indies, you had a chance at the NWA World Championship, 10 pounds of gold. What does NWA have to do to become a player again in indies or even televised wrestling?
Man, this is, again, my opinion. I'm going to say that a million times on this podcast because people get so mad at people's opinions, and this is just my opinion. I think for anyone to have a shot at being a really, like, big juggernaut in professional wrestling such as WWE, it's going to take, like Ted Turner did with Eric Bischoff, someone with a lot of money to hook up with someone with a lot of intelligence when it comes to the business. For example, let's just say Donald Trump, with all his billions of dollars, said, hey, Paul Heyman, I'm going to give you a $500 million budget to run a wrestling show, and we're going to be on NBC, and, you show me how to do, kind of like Ted Turner did with Eric Bischoff. It's going to take something like that to happen before anyone's ever a juggernaut ever again. And, Ring of Honor's doing really well. I think the only thing they're missing is, a set time on a set network every single week. I know they have television, but, here in Baltimore, sometimes it'll come on Saturday at 2 p.m. or on the CW network or whatever it is. If Ring of Honor, came on Wednesday on Spike TV at 9 o'clock, I think they would do really well, and I think it would help their product. That's all they're missing, I think, because they have a great product. And Impact's on the Pop Network, which not everyone has that channel, but they do have a set time every Thursday at 8 o'clock on the Pop Network, and they're trying to redo that whole company. And they got great talent there. I actually worked a couple of shows with them up with Big Time Wrestling in California a couple of weeks ago. Had a great time. They have a great locker room, man. Fun guys, very talented, hungry guys, and I hope they turn things around. And man, I just love wrestling. I want everybody to do well, because if everyone's doing well, then business is well.
What saved Impact is Twitch, I think. They brought in Scott D'Amore. Was it Don Callis, I believe they brought in to help change the way the show is run. My opinion is they need to change that announcing crew. I think a lot of shows live and die with the announcing crew. And right now, as much as I like Sanjay as a wrestler, I don't think the Sanjay and Josh Matthews mix is great. It seems the days of the super excited announcer that we grew up with Gorilla Monsoon are over. I understand that. We're not going to get too many of those. I think the only one right now that can really pull it off is Morella in NXT, which is doing amazing things down there. But for Impact to go to the next level, and I don't even know what the next level is, they need to do a better job of finding announcers.
Well, Morella, I'll agree with you there, is the best announcer in wrestling right now. When I wrestled AJ Styles for the WWE title, he called that match, and man, it made it that much special because he's so great at it. I mean, he's the one that got to call the Mayweather-McGregor fight. Like, he's outstanding, and like, I love watching NXT just to listen to him announce. He's amazing, and he's one of a kind this day and age. And announcers, good, like real good ones, are hard to come by these days, because we grew up on Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan, and of course like the Jerry Lawler and Jim Ross. Impact, well, back when it was TNA, they had Mike Tenay. I think Mike Tenay was really good at it. He had a lot of information right in his head to spit out on that mic. And I don't know what Mike Tenay's doing these days, but I'd like to see him return to Impact Wrestling. That'd be great.
I was not a Don West guy between you and I. There was just something about Don West. And Petey loved Don. I just couldn't get behind Don West.
I think Don West was fun. Like, I just, you got to have your straight guy, which was Mike Tenay. Then Don West was the color guy. He was fun. I wouldn't call him great, but he was fun. Like, I didn't mind him.
So AllIn, do you think they hit 10,000?
It depends, man. I think they, like I said earlier, I think they have the intelligence to do it. Like the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, they're all huge independent stars. And good for Cody, man. He left WWE and he's became a bigger star. Like, he's done outstanding, and good for that guy. I think what'll put him over the top to hit the 10,000 is if in Chicago they could get CM Punk on the show. CM Punk's return to wrestling, his first wrestling appearance since 2012 when he left, or what was it, 2012 or 2013? I think it was 2013. Maybe the Royal Rumble. When did he leave? It was either 2013 or 2014.
Sometime around there.
Yeah, I don't want to get my facts wrong here. I think it was the 2014 Royal Rumble. Check them facts. Somebody tweet me that and tell me if that's right or not. But yeah, his first wrestling appearance in years, that would be huge for him. Right in his hometown. He's got, like, fresh off a fight from UFC. Like, he's fighting in the UFC in June. And CM Punk, I'm a huge fan of. He's a big star, and a lot of people dislike the way he is, but man, he's one of those people that scratch and clawed, and when you've done that, and when you've went through that, and I went through it, man. Like, I 14 years of boys and girls clubs and bingo halls and fire halls, and which I'm 100% happy I went through all that and then finally made it, because it made me appreciate it more. And still to this day, I appreciate everything I've accomplished, and I always will. And Punk did that, and like, if they get him for AllIn, I definitely think they'll do the 10,000 seats. But hey, without him, do I think they have, again, the intelligence and the wrestling smarts to draw 10,000 people? I don't think they would do it if they didn't. I think they could.
rumor starter, rumor killer, have you been approached, asked, even hinted at of being part of this event yet?
Well, I mean, I said this to those guys, and I think I put it out there on Twitter. If you're a free agent and you haven't contacted them about being on that show, I don't know what you're thinking, because that show is going to be talked about so much. And, I have approached them about being on it. I haven't got a yes or a no yet. I would love to be a part of it. I'll put that out there. It's going to be great for independent wrestling. But anyone that's a free agent should try to be on that show, and that's my humble opinion.
September 1st, guys, support. This is the best way you can support indie wrestling. Whether you're a fan of WWE or not, this is a great way to show that indie wrestling is alive and kicking and bring together a community. I'm all for it. I'm trying to convince the wife to let me go out there for it, but September 1st, if you are just a strictly WWE fan, which I would say easily 50% of WWE fans are strictly WWE fans, open your eyes and take a look at this other product, because they're really doing great things down there.
Absolutely, man. And I guarantee you it would be a great show, like all the talent that's going to be on it. So hopefully I'll get to be a part of it. But if not, I wish those guys the best, and I hope they draw the 10,000 seats no matter what.
Let's talk a little WWE shakeup right now, because, look, if you're an indie fan, you love to knock the WWE. If you're a WWE fan, you just love the WWE. I love it. I am not afraid to say I love it. I've learned so much about the indie scene through Petey, and now through you. As I'm thinking about taking my 9-year-old on a road trip to Indiana this weekend, which we'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to our plugins. But let's talk about the WWE shakeup. A little notes of who's moved around. You and I are going to kind of who benefited and who didn't, but the major names going to Raw is Jinder Mahal, Ruby Riott, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Drew McIntyre, Baron Corbin, Bobby Roode, Mike Kanellis, Chad Gable. Going over to SmackDown, The Miz, you have Samoa Joe, Big Cass, Asuka, The Bar, Sienna Alma. To just out of those names, or maybe somebody I didn't mention, biggest winner in the move for you this week?
Wow, that's tough. Biggest winner in the move. I did pay attention to it, and I checked it out because I knew we were doing this podcast. It's hard for me to watch WWE right now because I miss being there. I miss my friends, but I do pay attention to it on Twitter mostly. But I did watch this week. I actually just got done watching SmackDown and saw Charlotte kind of reference me.
Yeah, how cool is that? To still know, though, you're still being referenced to this day.
I mean, the Carmella just won the SmackDown Live Women's Championship, and I'm very happy for her on a personal level. She's a very smart girl. I've said that a million times because she is. I'm very happy she did cash in successfully and became the SmackDown Live Women's Champion. But, yeah, they did a little promo where Charlotte came out and said the only reason you won the Money in the Bank briefcase is because of that chinless freak. Right? Obviously talked about me, duh. There's nobody else is a chinless freak in wrestling that I know of. So that was cool. But, yeah, biggest winner, back to your question of the draft. Man, I'm trying to think who it's going to – probably Drew McIntyre, right? For him, like he's back on Raw. Like, he was down in NXT. He's in the best shape of his life, and here he is. He's back on the main roster, and he's teaming him up there with Dolph Ziggler. Kind of a throwback. Reminds you of Shawn Michaels and Diesel being together. So, like, for a wrestler, the biggest winner, I think it's him. Now, out of the draft, Raw and SmackDown, who's the biggest winner? I think SmackDown getting Asuka's huge. And Raw, let's see, who did Raw get from SmackDown? I'm like, wow, they're going to be awesome on it.
They got almost the whole SmackDown roster, it felt like, at the end of the day.
Well, who do you think was the biggest winner that went from SmackDown to Raw? Like, I'm trying to think in my head.
The biggest winner, I think, is Dolph Ziggler. Here's a guy that it seems like they've thrown everything against the wall, and they almost had it right. I would say a year ago, I told PD on a podcast, I said, the way you fix Dolph Ziggler is you get rid of the entrance, you have him just come out, you don't even have him fight, you just have him attack the champions on both shows for a few weeks here and there, and then throw him into a program with maybe the Intercontinental Championship or the United States. They almost did that. It still feels ultra fake where he comes out and then halfway down the ramp, his entrance music starts. I think that's lame. I think you either commit to music or no music, but you can't do both.
Well, I think, the pairing of him and Drew McIntyre is interesting, and I'm looking forward to see where they go with it. And Dolph's a very cool guy, and he's, everyone thinks he's been underutilized lately. And, I'm just, anxious to see where this goes with him and McIntyre. Now, I think the biggest winner out of both brands and who got the, somebody taking somebody else's, wrestler, I think Samoa Joe going to SmackDown is huge. I think that SmackDown is the biggest winner because they got Samoa Joe. He's a fantastic wrestler. He's a great promo. I mean, he's been killing it with these promos lately against Roman Reigns for, leading up to their match at Backlash. And I think that's who the biggest winner is, SmackDown getting Samoa Joe. And maybe that's just me being a homer to SmackDown, because SmackDown to me will always be my home. But, Samoa Joe, I think this is his breakout year in WWE, and him being on SmackDown, I think that helps. And I mean, can you imagine WWE title matches with him and AJ Styles on SmackDown? It's unbelievable to think about. And think 5 years ago, if I said, "Hey, Samoa Joe's going to be on SmackDown and AJ Styles is going to be the WWE champion, and maybe we'll get a match where they face each other for the WWE championship," you would have looked at me like I was nuts. But it very well could happen now. And Samoa Joe is an awesome talent. And I'm looking forward to seeing his run on SmackDown Live.
5 years ago, absolutely, because Samoa Joe, I'd go maybe 6 or 7 where Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, the Hardys, they were all down there really working hard in Impact. Mm-hmm. Now, those guys are here at the top of the industry. So that says a lot about what TNA and Impact did in the past, where the guys coming up now in WWE were the guys that made that promotion almost compete with WWE.
Yeah, like I said, I just back in 5, 6, 7 years ago, you wouldn't have thought those guys would be on WWE though. It was a different time. Now, it doesn't surprise me on whoever shows up. I just wrestled Matt Riddle a couple of weeks ago. He's a top independent wrestler. He used to compete in the UFC, and now he's on the independents wrestling. He's an outstanding talent. And if I see him show up on NXT, it's not going to surprise me anymore, because they notice now more than ever talent on the independents. They just signed Ricochet. EC3, was over in Impact Wrestling. They signed him, and Eric Young, and they notice when someone is getting popular on the independent scene, but 5 or 6, 7 years ago they didn't really do that. It's a different time now, and it's a fun time in wrestling, man. It's a fun time in the business. You never know who's going to show up somewhere, and it's just a good time, I think, right now.
For me, the biggest loser of the Superstar Shakeup was Bobby Roode. Here's a guy that I feel like they botched horribly bringing him up from NXT. It's too much of a Ric Flair ripoff gimmick. He's a face, which doesn't really go with the character that he's really built at NXT. Switching him over to brands, if you kept him on SmackDown, which is a smaller show, and you can get away with doing a little more stuff, maybe even rehabbing a character over there, where then you bring him over to Raw now, where it's the bright lights and the big city, I don't think it's going to do him any favors. And he doesn't need a scenery change. He just needs a character tune-up, because maybe this is the fan in me. And look, I'm a fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan. But he's getting dangerously close to Dolph Ziggler waters right now, this early.
Well, I hope that's not the case. His entrance is so cool. It's hard for him to get booed, even if he was a heel. His character is more of a heel, kind of Rick Rudish. The last name's Rude, and it's just he's a good-looking guy. He's in real good shape. He comes out very arrogant. And, I think ultimately you will get that heel run out of Bobby Roode, and it'll be glorious. Pun intended, duh. And I don't think he's going to lose any steam. I think, he has an Intercontinental title run in him again. Man, can you imagine if he turned heel and jumped Seth Rollins and they feuded for the Intercontinental title? And that'd be awesome. I don't know. I wanted to talk about Jinder Mahal a little bit. He was the first guy when Raw started Monday. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't watch it live, but he was the first guy during the Superstar Shakeup that switched brands and came out on TV. Was it him?
Yeah, it was him. He came out and then immediately lost the United States Championship.
And here's the thing, and this is, again, my humbled opinion. I'm going to say that every single week, so get used to it. Jinder Mahal, man, he is in such awesome shape. And he's tall, and he looks scary. He looks like a villain. He looks like somebody out of a Disney movie, like a Jafar, or just somebody that you're supposed to be scared of. And it's never felt like that, has it? He's always, he kind of was in the three-man band, and then he went over to SmackDown and became the champion, very quickly. After he left Raw, he was, Rusev's protege for a little bit on Raw. Then he went to SmackDown and became the champion, in a month? After the Superstar Shakeup in 2017? Without WWE, and dude, I'll say this, man, after being there, this is coming from a guy that was there, those writers and everybody, that's a very hard job for so many reasons. You have to please so many different people. It's not easy. So they take a lot of slack, but guess what, man? It's not an easy job. At the end of the day, one guy checks off everything. It's just not easy. But with Jinder Mahal, if I were to book him, let's me play Booker for a minute, okay, he's coming off of, being in 3MB, being Rusev's protege, basically doing, putting people over his whole WWE career, and then he gets on SmackDown a month later, becomes WWE champion. To me, you bring him on SmackDown, you build him up, you have him beat people because he's so much bigger and he's in such good shape, and again, he looks scary, he looks like a threat. So you have him just beat people and make him a threat and build him up. Maybe put the U.S. title on him before you ever put the WWE title on him. Maybe you put the U.S. title on him, and maybe he runs through the guys that, that are the mid-card guys, and you build his heat up. Then by the time he's ready to get the WWE title, people believe that, he's a threat. He can beat people. I think, it just, it kind of went from, all right, well, he's a 3MB guy, now he's WWE champion. And I don't think you got what you could have had there, because he's an awesome guy, personally. Very nice guy. And he's just a really, good talent. And people, I don't think people believed in him right from the beginning of the title run. Not only did he just, was he doing jobs right before the title run, then you put the Singh brothers with him. Both guys, I'll talk about the Singh brothers a little bit. Those are very, respectful, cool guys, and I'm glad they're having fun there on SmackDown like I did. It's so much fun to be on the show, and I know they're having a blast living their dream. But, you put the Singh brothers with them, and, they're helping them win, every title match. And, to me, Jinder Mahal is a guy that should be just destroying people and being a villain that you're like, my God, who's going to stop this guy? Who's going to beat this guy? And so that's the way I personally, in my humbled opinion, would have booked Jinder Mahal.
We have our first disagreement, James. I'm excited about this because,
oh God damn it, here we go already.
Here's my booking as a fan, as an outsider. I thought they did great because it really tied into the land of opportunity, which I could have believed in, where they had a guy who rehabbed his image and won a tournament, got the belt. Where they dropped the ball was this, you don't like me because I'm different. You don't like me because I'm, Asian or Indian, black or white. I didn't.
He's Indian, not
right.
Asian, not black, not white.
I was.
I know what you're saying.
Though. But to me, that took away from his steam where he didn't really generate real heat. He was trying to, I guess, buy the heat off of quote unquote racism. I was hoping that he could have beat a lot of guys cleanly during his title run.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. You're not listening to me. I want to see Jinder Mahal beat somebody's ass. That's what I'm saying. Because he looks like he can beat everybody's ass. And then
I agree.
That's what I'm saying.
I agree to that point. and I love the fact, and it felt real throwbackish where he held the belt for almost a year. And it was refreshing. Because when you have too many title changes in a year, it's a little bit exhausting as a fan.
I agree with that. He held the title 6 months, by the way. It wasn't a year. It was half a year.
It felt like a year. They really did a good job.
I was there the whole time. The whole time he had the title, I was there. 6 months.
They did a great job of stretching it.
I agree, though. I like before he won it. That's another thing. Before he won it, I think John Cena beat AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble, January 2017. Then I think February, Bray Wyatt beat AJ Styles elimination, or John Cena in Elimination Chamber, became champion. And then in April, the beginning of April at WrestleMania, Randy Orton won the title for Bray Wyatt. And then in May, Jinder Mahal won the title from Randy Orton. So it was getting hot potatoed around a lot. And I agree with you there. I like to see somebody carry the title for a while. Right now, AJ's had it since November, and so he's had it for 6 months, and he's having a really good run, I think. And I was actually glad to see he retained it at WrestleMania, and Shinsuke with the heel turn there. I think that's interesting. That's fun, and I can't wait to see where that goes.
The best move was having Shinsuke basically say, "I don't speak English." I thought that was the most foreign heel tactic a guy could do, and it was great.
Yeah, that was very well done, and I can't wait to see heel Shinsuke Nakamura. And I think it's going to be cool. And it's going to make some good matches with him and AJ. And, man, SmackDown, I think, to me, and maybe it's me being a homer to SmackDown, because I love SmackDown. My heart will always be there. The draft for them was awesome, man. They got Almas from NXT, and he comes with the girl, and she's awesome, and that's a great package. They got Jeff Hardy over there now, and he's, everybody loves Jeff Hardy.
Not everybody.
If you're a kid that's just seeing him for the first time, or if you're somebody like me that's 33 years old that's been watching him for 20 years, you love Jeff Hardy, so that's a big plus for them. Daniel Bryan's wrestling again on SmackDown. SmackDown it just got a hell of a lot better, I think, because of the SuperStar Shakeup.
James, not everybody loves Hardy. I am not a fan of his one bit. Oh
man,
I'm sorry.
Suck.
I do. Yeah, listen.
Why do I agree to do this with you? Hardy, God.
I'll air my grievances with Jeff Hardy right here. As a person, I think he's okay. He's had a lot of troubles. He's had a lot of second chances, but yet he keeps fumbling it. Somebody in the WWE or in wrestling must like him. That's all I'm going to say. As a character, he's still wearing the same outfit he wore during the Attitude Era. If there's one guy other than
because it still works.
It doesn't work. You know what I see it? When he comes out, I see, oh, great. Here's Mighty Mighty Boss Stones or whatever awesome glow-in-the-dark, alternative 90s.
I don't know what I see when Ringside Collectibles puts up the top 10 selling action figures every week. I see Jeff Hardy #1 every single week.
Look, it's me. I get it. It's me. We all have that one guy we don't like.
Right,
and for me,
you're allowed to not like him.
I'm sure he's a great person. He still has some stuff in the ring. I think just like The Undertaker, fans remember what he used to do and gives him a little bit more leeway now in the wrestling ring.
He's a star, a huge star, yeah.
So he just doesn't resonate with me. Maybe I grew up and grew out of the 18 to 24-year-old range that he's trying to capture as a fan base, but I do not connect with him as a wrestler anymore.
Oh, it's just you. Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to like who you want to like, and you're allowed to hate who you want to hate. And you don't like Jeff Hardy. That's cool. I mean, most people do, though.
Yes.
Here's another thing, and I'll say this. like, I love Roman Reigns. Like,
Me
I think
too.
he's an outstanding talent. He's a great in-ring performer. Watch him and AJ. Well, when AJ's first year with the company, watch him and AJ on a pay-per-view. I believe it was Battleground or maybe Extreme Rules, 2016. Watch that match. It was one or the other, Extreme Rules or Battleground. What an awesome match. But, like, the audience, they, for whatever reason, they don't want to see him as the top babyface, the Universal Champion. And, you know, it comes off on TV that they don't want to see it. I mean, I do. I think Roman Reigns is great, but the majority of the audience, when he comes out, boos him, and I don't know, like, they don't, to me, it just seems like they don't want him to be the top guy. And I mean, again, I do, but it just seems to me it's not coming off that way on television with the audience. So everybody's allowed to have their opinions. What I'm saying, you don't like Jeff Hardy. I love Jeff Hardy. I've loved Jeff Hardy since 1997. And yes, he, you know, he has skeletons in his closet, but who doesn't? You know, Jeff Hardy hasn't ever hurt anybody other than himself. You know, he's a great guy, man. I've, you know, done independent shows with him, and, you know, WWE a little bit, and he's an outstanding human being, and he's a great aspect for any wrestling show he's on. He's a huge star, and people do connect with him and love him, and continue to.
That's what we'll do next week. One of the topics is how to fix Roman Reigns in both of our opinions. And we can even throw that out to the fans. Let's keep it respectful and clean and realistic. We'll tell you how to get in contact with the show.
I just don't think anything's wrong with Roman Reigns. I think he's an outstanding talent, and I don't know. I personally love him, but, you know, most people don't. I do. And again, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
We'll have to figure out, in our booking opinion, how to fix Roman Reigns in the fans' eyes. How about that?
Okay, we can try that. It'll be a fun topic, and, you know, maybe fans can chime in on that too throughout the week on social media. You know, my Twitter at Real Ellsworth, and, you know, tweet me. How do you think Roman Reigns can be fixed and be the top babyface WWE wants him to be, and be Universal Champion as the top babyface? Because that's what it seems like they want. And tweet me and tell me how you, in your opinion, think that could happen.
All right, before we wrap this podcast up and send everybody home happy, I've got a handful of emails here that I feel like I should read to you and you can answer. They're all, this week, well, we had over 170 emails. Couldn't get to them all, but thank you for reaching out. We'll try to read as many as we can each week as we figure out a lot of things going on, how we want the show. This is the first one we don't really talk about. We just said, let's sit down and record like two guys having a conversation at a bar. So that's hopefully the feel we're going to bring. But we don't know. We're working on length and this and segments, so bear with us.
Already, I feel like I need a drink after talking to you.
Oh, man, that's the nicest thing you've said to me all day.
But anyway, yeah, go ahead with the questions. Let's get to the questions. The fans are important to me. You know that. That's why I've been doing this. So let's get to these questions.
All right. Sam P. wants to know, how much spin did the WWE put on the on-air James Ellsworth persona?
Well, how much spin?
I guess
there's a lot of ways to answer it.
How much input probably is, you know, how did they mold James Ellsworth as the on-air character, I guess.
Well, you know, when they put me with Carmella, I dressed like like I would never dress in my life, other than wearing a backwards ball cap, which I do like doing that. So that was cool. I got to do that on TV because I do that in real life. You know, I came in, I was a big baby face, right in the middle of the Dean Ambrose AJ Styles rivalry, which I don't think anyone will ever forget. That was just such a fun rivalry, that two and me in the middle. And then, you know, paired me up with Carmella and changed my clothes there to match her attire, and you know, it worked. It was good. Like, I had a blast working with Carmella, and they did change the character up very drastically that way, but I thought it worked in the long run. And yeah, they just like, you know, the way James Ellsworth was acting with Carmella, like, you know, was very different than the way he was acting with Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles. It was a complete 180, and so that's basically, you know, it went from being a underdog babyface, very like cartoony character, which was great with Dean Ambrose and AJ Styles, to a guy that's hanging out with this hot chick, and now he thinks he's hot stuff. So that's how he, changed the persona.
KCG wants to know, how much work was it for you to adapt to the WWE style of wrestling?
Not much work at all, honestly, because on the independents, I studied a lot of WWE film, and I always wanted to work the way they wanted you to work. And, I mean, obviously, I didn't wrestle a whole lot at WWE, but when I did, it didn't take much for me to do their style other than, when you're wrestling on live TV, you get cues, and, okay, you got 2 minutes left, or 1 minute left. That was very new to me, but other than that, man, I really studied guys like Jake the Snake Roberts and the way they would work, WWE style of working. I studied it my whole life, and it was very fun doing it there.
We got time for 2 more questions. Mark A wants to know, who was your first famous wrestler that you got to meet that you geeked out over?
Wow, that's a good question. I was very young. Shawn Michaels, who's my favorite wrestler of all time, came out and he used to give these heart glasses out, he had glasses and they had hearts. They were shaped like hearts. And when I was a kid at the Baltimore Arena, he threw the glasses to me. He came over, pat me on the head. He was my favorite wrestler. This was 96. I was 12 years old. That was my first interaction with a wrestler, and happened to be my favorite was him. Very cool moment.
Mine was, not that anybody cares, I was 10.
I mean, I should know. Go ahead.
I was 10 or 11, and I got to sit on an airplane next to the $1 Million Man from a flight from St. Louis to Atlanta, and it was still to this day one of the nicest guys I ever met at that time.
Man, I'm big on kayfabe, and you just broke it. There's no way he's really $1 Million Man if he's sitting next to you on a plane.
I was in first class. My dad retired from Delta, so we would get leftover seats, and the plane wasn't full. So we were in the first class, and I remember going, "Where's Virgil? Where's your belt at?" You
were marking out for him.
Of course. And Tyler D wants to know, if you never made it in the wrestling world, what would your real life job be?
I'd be cutting grass somewhere, I guess. I don't really know, man. All I thought about since I was 4 or 5 years old, this is all I wanted to do. I mean, before WWE, on a serious note, I used to work with people with special needs, and had a lot of fun doing that, helping them find jobs in the community and stuff like that. So I did do that before WWE, and I had a good time doing it. I don't know if I'll ever go back to that or not. Right now, I'm enjoying making a living off of what I love to do, and that's being in the wrestling business.
So this was the first ever DuhCast. How do you think it went? I thought this was great.
Oh, it was great, other than the part where you kept chiming in. But other than that, I thought it was amazing.
God bless you, James. I love you. So let's do some promoting. I'll let you go first, and we'll wrap this up.
Well, if you want to find your boy James Ellsworth, you can find me on Twitter at Real Ellsworth, on Instagram at James Ellsworth Wrestling, on Facebook, just look me up, James Ellsworth. Duh. And then check out my local wrestling show that I promote, Adrenaline Championship Wrestling. We have shows June 1st and 2nd, June 1st in Glen Burnie, Maryland, featuring Jeff Jarrett, Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner, James Ellsworth, and my tag team partner for ACW, Gilbert. The same crew will be in Hanover, Pennsylvania, June 2nd. And then June 3rd, we haven't talked about this, and we'll touch on it more next week. I'm running an all-girls wrestling event. James Ellsworth presents Fire, Female In-Ring Entertainment. That'll be at Easton, Maryland, June the 3rd. All that info is at AdrenalineWrestling.com.
Nice. And you'll be in Indiana, where hopefully I can come by and get my picture taken with you. I'll wait in line with the common folk, too.
Yeah, I don't want you to have any special privileges getting a picture with me. You will have to wait live. Matter of fact, I would like you to wait for everyone else to be done.
I can do that. Way past everybody's done, when you're in your car driving away?
Yeah, maybe like after the show's over there in Fort Wayne, Indiana, this Saturday, and I'm in my car. Maybe I'll let you chase me to a red light or something, take a selfie while I'm sitting in the car.
Yeah, I did get one of those questions for you. Like, what was it? The Ride Along show? Was there any funny outtakes that never made it there? That was one of the email questions. I think we saved that for next week, though.
Oh yeah, well, no, let's touch on it this week.
Okay.
We told a story about Chad Gable. Daniel Bryan over one of the overseas tours went on the tour with us when he was the general manager of SmackDown, and he would he told Chad Gable, "I want you to be a bloody baby face. You go out there and you take heat and you gig, and there's just blood running down your face." And every night he would say, "I want you to be a bloody baby face, and I want these heels to get real heat, and I want you to bleed like a stuffed pig all over the United Kingdom." It was a funny story we told on Ride Along, and it didn't there. It was great, though. I love Daniel Bryan. I want to put that out there. He's a funny guy.
Man, and I guess for me, don't forget the Wrestling Perspective podcast with myself and PD Williams on the same feed as the DuhCast. You can rate, subscribe. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Tuned In, iHeartRadio. If you go to WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com, you can find all of James' social media there. You can email both of the shows if you have any questions. PD, myself, everything is there. You can subscribe to the podcast. The WrestlingPerspectivePodcast.com. That's your one-stop shop for Wrestling Perspective. And the DuhCast. The DuhCast. I think it's going to catch on.
Of course it is. Duh.
James, I'll see you next week, buddy.
Let's see you next week. Had a blast. Hopefully, PD before then, PD Williams, hits you with a Canadian Destroyer, and we'll be talking next week. You're, eating your dinner through a straw.
Thanks, buddy. I can't wait to see you.
Other than that, I wish you the best.
There we go. It's the DuhCast.